Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing another family tree for a Walking Dead character, or characters I suppose. Today we're going to be doing the Ford family tree, aka the Espinosa family tree, aka the Monroe and the Williams family tree. I mean, we're looking at a lot. So let's start off with Rosita, who I think is kind of the central character for this tree. So Rosita Espinosa, of course, is in seasons 4 to 11 of The Walking Dead, and she does unfortunately die in the very last episode. Now, we actually have a lot of history of people that Rosita has dated, but we'll get into that in a bit. First, obviously, the main one that she dated was Abraham Ford, her boyfriend in season 4, and of course, Abraham Ford is a character who lives from season 4 all the way to season 7, where he of course dies in the premiere at the hands of Negan. Now, let's just go back to Rosita first. So, what do we know about Rosita's family? Now, we know about her mother, who raised her. We don't know much about her father. It seems that her mother was solely the person who raised her, but she did die. We also know that Rosita had a brother, and this brother had a son, who was Rosita's 6-year-old nephew, who she mentions, but we don't know the fate of either of these guys. Then we get into Rosita's dating history. So before she dated Abraham, she actually had a couple of flings with a guy called Chaser, a guy called Marcus, and a guy called Johnny. Now, we don't know the fate of any three of these guys, but they were people that Rosita basically had a sexual relationship with in order to kind of use them, essentially. And they sort of thought they were protecting her, but really she was learning their sort of various skills. I think for Chaser, there was knot tying. For Johnny, he was like a stunt driver. I'm forgetting exactly, but she learned some skills from these guys. So after Abraham, Rosita eventually dated a guy called Spencer Monroe. And I use dated very loosely because it was another sort of sexual encounter. You know, she was using him for sex, basically. Now, Spencer, of course, is a character first introduced in season 5 of The Walking Dead. And then he dies in season 7 at the hands of Negan. Now, Spencer, of course, we meet his family. His mother, Deanna Monroe, was, of course, a congresswoman. First shows up in season 5 and then dies in season 6. And Reg, who's only in season 5, he obviously gets killed by Pete Anderson. Reg was an architect, and he was partially the reason why Alexandria exists. Both Deanna and Reg, actually. Obviously, Deanna was kind of the leader of Alexandria, whereas Reg was the person who put the walls up, or helped to put the walls up and designed it all. They actually had another son as well, Spencer's brother, who is Aiden Monroe. Now, Aiden Monroe was sort of a scavenger, and of course he was introduced in season 5, and he dies in that same season because of his own screw up. Basically, he shoots a zombie with grenades on it, and he gets himself impaled and then devoured. So, moving on, we shall go back to Rosita's next boyfriend, who actually was, again, not really a boyfriend. It was just someone she sort of had a fling with. I'm using dating very loosely, and that, of course, was Sadik. So Sadik was a character, first showed up in season 8, of course, and then he later died in season 10 when he was killed by Dante. Now, Sadik, we learn about his father briefly, but his father is dead, and then we also learn about his mother, who kind of taught him a lot of things. Now, his mother actually did survive a bit of the apocalypse, it appears, and then eventually she is the one who believed in killing the dead to release their souls, but obviously eventually she got bit and she got sick and she died. We also learn about not about his grandparent, but about his aunt. So I've just put his grandparents here, but we don't really learn much about them. Yeah, we also learn about Sadik's aunt, but not much about her really, just that she exists, so she's on the thing. But this relationship that Rosita had with Sadik actually resulted in a child, and that is, of course, Sakuro Espinosa, aka Coco. So Sakuro is a character who now is actually adopted by another character, which we'll get onto in a second. But yeah, she was unfortunately made an orphan. But Rosita's next boyfriend, and this was an actual boyfriend, not a lover, obviously eventually adopted Sakuro, and that, of course, is Gabriel Stokes. So Gabriel Stokes is a character who is still currently alive in the show. He's still living. He's still alive in the universe. He's obviously last seen in The Ones Who Live, where he is conversing with his previous girlfriend, Anne, aka Jadis. So these two, of course, kind of dated. They were kind of lovers, kind of dating, and they kind of on and off dating, like, whilst Gabriel was with Rosita, which doesn't cast Gabriel in a great light, but whatever. And of course, Anne, first introduced in season 7 as the leader of the junkyard, or the scavengers, or the heaps, whatever you want to call it. And she eventually dies in The Ones Who Live season 1. Oh, just The Ones Who Live. I don't know if they're going to do a season 2. But I'll say season 1, just in case they do. So, that is pretty much all of Rosita's lovers and so forth, and obviously her child, Sakuro. But let's now go on to Abraham Ford. So, Abraham Ford, before Rosita, of course, had a family. Now, he married a woman called Ellen. Now, we don't know her maiden name, but she's just Ford here, so Ellen Ford. And together they had 2 children, Abraham Ford Jr. and Becca Ford. Now, all 3 of Abraham's family members unfortunately died after they basically got very scared of their father, of the patriarch of their family, after he beat 3 men to death with what appears to be a can of food. And they fled and eventually were sadly all killed by zombies, and Abraham eventually found their bodies. Now, Abraham breaks up with Rosita after he discovers he has feelings for another group member, that being Sasha Williams. So Sasha Williams, of course, is a character who first shows up in Season 3, and she eventually dies at the end of Season 7. And she also appears briefly in Season 9 as a hallucination. Now, we know about Sasha's father, Mr. Williams. We know he's dead, but we don't know too much about him. But she did have a brother called Tyrese Williams. And, of course, this is another major character who obviously shows up in Season 3 and dies in Season 5 after a botched amputation, basically. Yeah. Now, Sasha also, before she dated Abraham, dated a guy called Bob Stucky. And, of course, a character who showed up in Season 4, died in Season 5. We all love Bob Stucky, the laughable guy, army medic, pretty cool dude, right? You know, a bit of an alcoholic, though, but the ultimate optimist to Sasha's ultimate pessimist. So, moving back to her brother also had a dating history, too. He, before he dated Karen, a member of Woodbury, he had this weird sort of quasi-relationship with Donna, where obviously Donna had feelings for Tyrese, it would appear, but I don't think they ever, were together at any point, but there is this sort of mention of Allan, how Tyrese saved Donna, and ever since, Donna kind of had strong feelings for Tyrese, so I've decided just to sort of loosely put her on the tree here as just feelings for. But of course, Donna, her husband was Allan. Donna obviously dies pretty quickly after she's introduced, but Allan is in the show for a little bit. Sorry, oh no, that's the wrong thing. Allan is in the show. Sorry, it's cropped out, I know, but he's in the show for a little bit. But he dies obviously at Season 3 after he's shot by the governor. And then, of course, Donna and Allan also had Ben, who was killed by Murrell accidentally after Ben comes into the line of fire of when he's trying to kill the governor. So yeah, after that, obviously, eventually Tyrese dated Karen. Now, some people for a while thought that this kid Noah was Karen's son, but actually he was just a student, because I think there's a mention of, you know, Karen's defending him and stuff, and I think there might be a mention of Karen's kid. Someone says Karen's kid, so referring to it as her child, but it is just a child that she is looking after, because Karen obviously was a school teacher and Noah was one of her students, and that's why she was defending him from joining the militia, because of his asthma. So that is it for the Ford / Espinosa / Williams / Monroe tree. Let me know what you think of this one, and which one do you want to see next. I do have a few more in the works. I'm still looking at doing the comic book one, although I haven't started it yet, but that could be interesting, and tell me your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.